37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
I can talk now, huh? Sweet. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Pixelated Paranormal, episode 315. I, of course, am Sean, and what do I have to share today? I don't know if I showed this bad boy off, but my brother made me this incredibly awesome 3D printed Slimer bust. It glows in the dark. It's really fucking rad. And now I'm trying to figure out if I should attempt to paint the mouth and risk sullying such a cool deal, or if I should just leave it like it is. So it also came with two little hands you can kind of like mount on the wall, so it's kind of like reaching out towards you. So that's pretty fucking cool. Yeah, I'm just a big dork that likes to show off my toys. And with me, as always, is Preston. Presto, buddy, how are you, sir?
What's up, all you cool ghosts and goblins, you crocodines and crocodingos, you skeletors and skelets and witchers and witches and whatever the fuck else you want to be. Kenny Pooh, if you're watching, I have my talking stick out tonight because I put part of this episode together. So fuck you. I have your gift.
Amazing. I thought that was a graphic on your shirt at first, and then it dawned on me, oh no, that is your skull totem pole dildo. So good to see it out there on the old recording desk. Oh, holy shit, God save the queen. Let's just duck in here real quick, check our audio. Oh yeah, we're solid. We're good to go on there. Sweet. Okay. Well, this episode's going to be a little short and still sweet. We had a couple stories we scrapped from last week's episode that didn't quite fit because they kind of dealt more with caves and less with tunnels, but we thought, what the fuck? It's been a long work week. I have actually stumbled into plenty more stories about the extraterrestrial plane of monsters lurking in tunnels, and so I actually didn't have enough time to finish the episode because of all the extra shit I found. So we thought, why not do Tunnel Dwelling Monsters Part 1.5 and share the stuff that got scrapped from last episode, and also share some really fucking wild news stories. So, Presto, unless you got anything else to share, let's just get into it, huh?
Dude, get into it. Hit it and quit it. Scoot it and boot it.
Sweet action. All right. Scoot it and boot it. Indeed. All right. So up first in the news, the New Orleans Police Department is battling a slew of unsafe work conditions currently at their headquarters. Anything from faulty elevators to drug-addled rats. The department says it's facing a major infestation of drugged-up rats at their dilapidated building on Broad Street because a gang of pesky rodents became incredibly high after making their way into the department's evidence room and began snacking on the narcotic stash they had in evidence lockers. The rats are eating so much evidence they're stoned on marijuana. They're all high. The dangerous conditions aren't just in the evidence room, though. Rats have been spreading feces everywhere, including on employees' desks, leading to poor working conditions. Among the many maintenance hazards, the building also has broken elevators, non-functioning plumbing, and an air conditioning system that's been out of commission since last summer, and also a mold outbreak. The repair bill for such issues is reportedly exceeding $6 million. And it's not just at the police headquarters. It's all districts. The uncleanliness is off the charts. The janitorial cleaning team deserves an award for trying to make an attempt to even make this clean, even though it's clearly uncleanable. Blah, 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 blah. The city council voted to approve a 10-year lease agreement for the New Orleans Police Department to move to an all-new building, which will cost somewhere around $670,000 a month. However, they said this would still be less than the $30 million it would take to repair the current headquarters that was built back in 1968.
Oh.
So yeah, I just like the idea of these fucking drug-addled rats running around. Oh, and they also have cockroaches too that are in the evidence room. So God only knows what those methed up cockroaches are capable of. Now up next, a traveler at Boston Logan International Airport was recently detained after authorities said that his baggage contained suspicious contents. And after deeper inspection, it was discovered that he was actually smuggling monkey mummies through airport security. Well, at first, the man tried to explain to the security agents that it was nothing more than a couple dried fish. Upon further examination, airport agents discovered that it was in fact the mummified remains of 4 different monkeys. The incident took place after a canine officer named Buddy sniffed out the dead and dehydrated monkeys from inside the luggage belonging to the traveler who recently returned to the U.S. from the Democratic Republic of Congo. But here's the rub. Raw or minimally processed meat from certain wild animals, otherwise known as bushmeat, isn't allowed back into the U.S. out of health concerns. Bushmeat can carry germs that cause illnesses, including the Ebola virus. So the traveler on Thursday carried about 8 pounds worth of bushmeat, and the CDC marked it for destruction. Airport agents around the country have encountered a variety of different meats, and apparently back in 2022, agents at Washington Dulles Airport confiscated a charred half-cooked bat. And back in 2019, officers at the O'Hare International Airport accepted 32 pounds of rat meat from another passenger. Holy fuck, dude. I think you just got to come by it honestly, you know?
I'm pretty sure that's how COVID.
Well, our final
bat meat. if we haven't learned
monkeys.
Anything, it's quit fucking around with the bat meat.
Yeah, it's a big no-no. All right, finally, a Florida man is breathing much easier now that over 150 live insects have been removed from his nasal cavity. The unidentified patient, who went to the hospital earlier last month, had noticed his whole entire face felt like it was on fire. Although the man first started experiencing the symptoms back in October, it wasn't until early February that it became serious and nearly unbearable. He said, over a couple of hours, all of a sudden my face started swelling, my lips swelled up, and I could hardly talk. I couldn't even get up to go to the bathroom without my nose starting to severely bleed. Well, the man visited the HCA Florida Memorial Hospital in Jacksonville and consulted with Dr. David Carlson, a specialty ear, nose, and throat doctor who happened to be on call. Now, the ENT Carlson was shocked in disbelief when he looked inside the man's nose with a camera, where he saw dozens upon dozens of live bugs feeding on the nose and sinus tissue inside his nasal cavity. Some, he said, were as big as the end of his pinky. He said, I knew the man was in trouble, and there had been obvious erosion that occurred near the skull base, in very close proximity to his eye sockets and his brain. Now, at first, the physician tried to use suction to remove the insects, many which were in the larval stage, but they were too large, and he had to then resort to extracting each of the insects one by one. They were right up against the man's skull base, right under his brain, and had they gone through that, it could have killed him. No sir, no ma'am. The bugs have since been sent off to an epidemiologist to determine their species, and the patient is said to make a full recovery. It remains a mystery how the larvae got inside the man's nose, but he told the First Coast News that the problem probably stemmed from the fact that he had bad hygiene after handling dead fish. I used to rinse my hands in the river, but now I guess I'll use a cleaner to do a better job and not touch my nose or my hand. So basically, dude just rinsed his hands off in the lake after he was done fishing, and then at some point probably picked his nose on the ride home and thus put these parasitic bugs into his own nose where it must have been the perfect incubator to fucking raise those bad boys.
Man, I feel for this guy. I had a similar situation one time. I went to a nursing home to repair and fix some glasses for the elderly, and it was during allergy season. And, my nose started running, so I did a quick like this. And the next day, I fucking had elephant man face, like this whole like MRSA, and it got all like, like shit was oozing, and it was the worst. So I feel for you, buddy. I get it.
Dude, what did you end up having? Staph? Is that what they ended up saying? MRSA in your fucking nostrils?
Yeah. Yeah. It was the worst.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really gross, man. I had a low-key staph infection from an ingrown hair once, and when I squeezed my leg after weeks of having this bump, finally the infection came out, and it looked like kind of like a neon yellowish red, like fucking jelly bean, and I had a crater in the inside of my leg for a while. This is back in like high school.
Ugh.
Yeah, I remember your nasty ass fucking nose, dude. That thing was rad.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that thing was nasty. Well, as promised, we got a couple stories we scrapped from last episode because they were a little more cavey and a little less tunnely. So we're going to share these bad boys with you guys before next week when we dive into the more ethereal version of Tunnel Monsters.
I don't know.
But my story that was cut from...
My story at the end is kind of ethereal because it's dealing with ghosts and caves. So...
Yeah, okay, so maybe yours is a good segue in then. Maybe we put this back in, unbeknownst to us for a very good reason.
Yeah. And then for next week, I still have two more ghost and caves. So you're going to do aliens and I'm going to do ghosts.
Fuck yeah. I like it, buddy.
Yeah.
We'll probably shoot for a longer episode next week. Well, my bits that ended up on the cutting room floor took place in Carthage, Missouri, where a man claimed to have come across some reptilians back in March of 2004. The unidentified witness claims that he and a friend were out riding their ATVs, aka all-terrain vehicles, at a massive underground storage facility, locally known simply as the Underground, which had a cave-like entrance, and then some areas consisted of a spiderweb-like network of tunnels and other caves that served as storage for the Navy. But also, people said it was a fallout shelter that could supposedly hold nearly 50,000 people in the event of some kind of fallout. Now, according to the witnesses, they had decided to go riding into the caves on their ATVs and eventually found themselves about 8 miles deep into a network of tunnels that had no end in sight. And at this point, they allegedly also noticed on the wall a sign saying Naval Authoritative Zone. But they decided, fuck it, we're already this far in on our ATVs, why don't we drive a little farther in? And so the witness said that after they passed the series of signs on the walls, soon the walls themselves became smoother, and the ground was much better paved, and then suddenly painted with strange patterns, which they at first thought were just simple graffiti markings left behind from some other thrill seekers like themselves. But not long after, they claimed that they must have passed through a sort of holographic projection on the cave wall because they found themselves inside a new section of intricate road systems that somehow seemed very old to them, almost ancient. The area was also described as having a strange damp odor wafting through the air, and they also noticed the lights had suddenly dimmed much lower than they were previously. Also to be noted, the temperature had severely dropped. Now, the witnesses noticed now, suddenly in front of them was a pair of bizarre-looking creatures about 30 feet away from them farther up, which they described as being large, powerfully built bipedal reptiles of some sort or another. One of the creatures was apparently 7 feet tall with reddish-colored skin, while the other was only 6 feet tall and pale, almost white in color. Now, the unsettling sight elicited a scream from one of the two witnesses, which caused one of the creatures to come towards them. The two men tore off on their ATVs back the other way, plunging back through the hologram, even as the bigger of the two entities gave a frightening chase. One of the witnesses says that when he looked back over his shoulder, he could see that the thing had raised its arm with tipped claws, and it was holding some kind of device almost like a gun, which it fired and hit one of the ATVs, allegedly causing the engine to abruptly die. He said, "We passed through the wall and the projection, and I looked back and saw this thing raising its arm, and it had a weapon of some sorts. It fired and hit my ATV that my friend was on. The engine died, and so I stopped. I told him to jump on, and he did. I then gunned it, and my friend said, 'Stop!' So I slowed down, and he said, 'Look.' And I turned around and noticed the thing had stopped near the graffiti on the wall where it had that strange pattern. The ATV itself was laying on its side at this point on top of the graffiti as well. It was obvious at this point this thing wouldn't cross the marking. So I slowed down more, and we're now about 75 feet away. I stopped, and the three of us, me, my friend, and the creature reptile man thing, just stood there staring at each other for about 15 seconds. And I gotta tell you, this is a long time. Then I started to leave, and it stayed there waiting. Yeah, no shit, right? The creature stayed there waiting and not moving until we were out of sight. As soon as we cleared the cave, I got on my cell phone and called the sheriff's department. But it seems that the call didn't really do much good, according to the witness. He said the sheriff's office allegedly simply told him that the underground security would have to handle it, and then suddenly hung up. Now, this underground security then converged upon them immediately, and the already puzzling case then takes a strange turn. They said that we were told to leave immediately and not tell anybody about the entire event, and that if we came back, the Navy would press charges. We were also told that we had about 10 minutes to leave or we'd be taken in. So what can we say? We left. It's been about 3 days since this happened, and I'm still shaken. I'm a powerful person. I'm 6'4" and 265 pounds, and I've never in my life been so afraid until that last Sunday. I lost one of my two ATVs, and as far as I know, it's still down there. My friend won't talk about it, and I haven't heard anything from anybody else either. I did call the sheriff's department to follow up, and they told me some pretty alarming news. They claim they never got a call from me at all that day. Well, that's my story anyway. I've never had anything strange happen in my life, and I'm very, very concerned about this. I can tell you one thing. I had an urge to kill the things I saw down there. I don't know if it's a natural reaction to most people would have to such a natural revulsion towards reptiles, or because of my faith and the feeling of evil that I had, or whatever. All I know is these things were real, and I wish I could do something, anything to combat or help against them. Take care, all, and thank you again for letting me write this and share my experience. Now, that little outro there is not to us. That's to the original website I found the story on. But anyway, yeah, I thought that was kind of fascinating, dude, because, we hear these stories of reptiles, living underground, whether or not they were true lizard people or just, the Aztecs under California. But, I mean, it's interesting nonetheless that we got a military compound. They're supposedly harvesting these reptilian lizard people.
Yeah. I would have killed it. I would have shot it. Would have ate it.
Yeah? What if you weren't packing, man? What if you had no weapons?
Man, when you're going into caves, you always got to be packing. That's the rule.
Yeah.
Be prepared.
Even if you're on the back of an ATV, you still got to be packing that heat, man.
That's right. They make gun racks for ATVs, so there's no excuse not to be packing. So.
Now, can you mount the shotgun on the front of it so it's kind of like, Borderlands style? You're just running and gunning?
Yeah, dude, you can mount it wherever you want.
All right. Well, cool, man.
Yeah.
I say next time your cousin Ken's in town, man, we mount up and go exploring some urban tunnels.
That's right. Ding a ding 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 ding. Is it my turn?
It's your turn, man. Let me know what you brought to the table, buddy. Wow me.
I am. So, many people are aware that the southeast most well-advertised cave is Ruby Falls. I actually went to Ruby Falls when I took my wife last year on her little birthday journey. We stopped in Tennessee and saw it. However, not as many people are familiar with a jewel of a cavern nestled at Chattanooga's westernmost exit, and even fewer people know about the cave's permanent guardian. Although not as well known as its famous cousin, Raccoon Mountain Caverns is, in fact, rated the number one cave in the Southeast and one of the top 10 caves in the entire United States. So, Steve, if you haven't been to Raccoon Mountain Caverns, you need to step it up, scrub. At least one website reports a section of the cave to be the most challenging cave tour in the country. Both Raccoon Mountain Caverns and Ruby Falls were discovered by Leo Lambert. Mr. Lambert, a chemist and a cave enthusiast, was distressed when the natural entrance to Lookout Mountain Cave on the banks of the Tennessee River was shut off to the public when the Southern Railroad Company constructed a tunnel through some portions of the mountain in 1905. He developed an ambitious plan to drill an elevator shaft from higher up on the mountains, hundreds of feet down to the cavern. I've been in that elevator shaft, and it is like the, scariest 20-minute ride of your life, because what happens if a fucking cable breaks or the power goes out? You're fucking stuck. Anyways, the excavation began in 1928, and in December of that year, the cave currently known as Ruby Falls, named after Lambert's wife, Ooh La La, was discovered. The following year, he was invited to explore the source of the air blowing through limestone rocks located on one portion of Raccoon Mountain known as Mount Etna, owned by the Grand Hotel and used as a farm for its restaurant. Farmers there used the rocks for natural air conditioning on hot days. So can you imagine just the air coming up from out of the ground is so cold, you're just like, oh, fan me, mountain, fan me. So Mr. Lambert expanded the cracks and discovered an extensive cave passage. In 1931, our adventurous friend widened the passage, blazed trails, and unveiled a new attraction, the dazzling Crystal Palace Room. Raccoon Mountain Caverns, with over 5.5 miles of underground wonder, is still a work in progress. Originally known as Tennessee Caverns and later as Crystal City Caves, sounds like a fancy neighborhood, doesn't it? It finally settled on its current name in the groovy 1970s. And just what does this cave have to offer? Well, how about a 45-minute Crystal Palace tour that will have you wishing at the pool, admiring your reflection in the manganese-infused water, and maybe even spotting an imaginary snake at the snake pit. Don't worry, folks, no actual snakes, we promise. And let's not forget the Cave Shield, a rare rock formation that hangs like a boss from the cave ceiling, flaunting its coat of arms-like image. It's like the VPI section of the cave. Raccoon Mountain Caverns doesn't stop at the usual touristy stuff. No, they offer wild cave and overnight tours for the brave souls who want to dive deeper into the belly of the beast. The Crystal Palace tour even gives you a sneak peek at the wild cave sections. It's like a teaser for hardcore spelunkers. Located just a stone's throw away from I-24 Lookout Valley exit, Raccoon Mountain sits proudly on Highway 41, waving at the passing cars like, hey, you want to explore some cool shit? And get this, the Trail of Tears, the Cherokee evacuation route brushes right by the mountain. Who knows? Maybe even the Cherokees popped in for a quick cool down in the cave's freshwater source. Wouldn't that be a refreshing historical twist? Back in the swinging 60s, the property changed hands like a hot potato. First, Harold Boyd, then the Grahams, and then finally the Perlarkey family in 1995. So, besides the cool caverns, Raccoon's Mountains now boast a gift shop, a campground, cabins, and, it's down south, so why the fuck not, go-karts. It's like a one-stop shop for adventurers, seekers, and souvenir collectors alike. But hold on to your flannel shirts, folks, because there's more to this roller coaster ride of history. Let's hop into the Wayback Machine, shall we? Sean, I need some sound effects, like Wayback, like... close enough.
We'll add that in post.
Yeah. It's September 1964, and they decided to add a sky ride. Whee! And then in 1979, they went all out and created Raccoon Mountain Recreational Park, complete with a water slide out and slide. Alpine slide. I don't know. Whatever.
There you go.
They,
Sound it out.
they had a hang gliding simulator, which later they decided to relocate, and even horseback riding. It really is kind of a all in one shop. Damn. So
Yeah,
it was
dude.
the place to be
One-stop
for
shop.
thrill seekers and fun enthusiasts. But alas, all good things must come to an end. In 1999, the recreational park bid farewell to make way for the Cummings Cove subdivision and Black Creek Golf Resort. Fuck you, rich people. Now, let me introduce you to Willie Cohen, the legendary night watchman of the caverns. This guy was a real character, always decked out in his trusty flannel shirt and puffing away on cigars or pipes. Willie took his job seriously, patrolling the gift shop and caverns like a boss. But one fateful night in 1966, he dozed off while smoking. And well, let's just say things got a little heated. The headline screamed, "Watchman found dead in ruins of Highway 51 tourist attraction." It's like we have the ingredients for The Hills Have Eyes, Freddy Krueger, Five Night at Freddy's combo going on. After Willie's unfortunate incident, strange things started happening. The scent of tobacco smoke lingered in the caverns. Shadowy figures appeared and disappeared like magic. Eerie sounds echoed through the passages. Even the cave walls seemed to have a mind of their own, changing signs from like dead end to read dead man. Spooky, right? When the Perlarkeys took over, they embraced the ghostly tales with open arms. Patty Perlarkey even started a log of all the paranormal shenanigans. The guides, once tight-lipped, now couldn't stop sharing their bone-chilling encounters. Who knew running a tourist attraction could be such a thrilling ghost hunt? The Perlarkey family and the cavern guides were as welcoming as a warm hug when it came to sharing their spooky encounters. Erin Hines, one of the fearless guides, spilled the beans on her run-ins with the resident ghost they affectionately called Willie. She claimed to have caught whiffs of cigar or pipe smokes wafting through the air, especially around the Iguana Head cephalome, a fancy word for cave rock formation, and the Hall of Dreams. Now fast forward to 2007, the year of the ghostly whistle. During one of her tours, Erin not only heard a mysterious whistling noise, but also laid eyes on Willie himself near Headache Rock. She even took a brave step toward him, only for him to pull a Houdini act behind the rock, and poof, he was gone. She described him as a scruffy old man with a beard that could rival Santa Claus. And the orbs, let's not forget the orbs, those magical floating balls of light that decided to photobomb her lantern tour. While most people caught the orbs on camera, Erin got the VIP treatment of seeing them with her own eyes. In the ever-changing seasons of the cave, doors would slam and signs would rattle, like they're auditioning for a horror movie. Erin once scolded Willie for his mischief, and lo and behold, the door creaked open as if to say, "Oops, my bad." It's like having a mischievous roommate you can't see. And let's not forget the guys who thought that they stumbled upon a secret party at the rope climb area, only to find out it was just the guide and his shadowy buddy in the cave. One night, the guys were minding their own business when out of nowhere, rocks started raining down on them. Talk about a rocky situation. The cheesy jokes are going to be here all night, folks. Yeah, I'm laying it on thick.
Jesus.
But guess what? When they mustered up and nutted up and got the courage to investigate, lo and behold, it was just them and the ghostly rock thrower in the cave. Again, fast forward to the late 90s, where Bob Perlarkey, one of the owners, found himself in a ghostly pickle. Bob, who was clueless as a lost puppy, had a hard time believing in ghostly tales. That is, until he had a face-to-face encounter with Willie himself. Bob was leading a group through the cave, only to spot a man in a snazzy red flannel shirt doing the cha-cha about 50 feet away. Bob, thinking it was a sneaky intruder, went full-on detective mode and gave chase, only for the mysterious figure to vanish into thin air. After this spine-tingling encounter, Bob spilled the beans to his sister Patty, who filled him in on the ghostly gossip. From then on, guides and guests alike couldn't stop sniffing out the scent of cigar and pipe smoke, especially around the end of November and December, near the anniversary of Old Willie's demise. It's kind of like a ghost smoke signal saying, "Hello, motherfuckers, I'm here." One day, Bob and his crew heard the cave door slam shut, only to find a light mysteriously in on the ladies' bathroom. Bob went one way, the pals went the other way, and they all met at the Wild Tour entrance, scratching their heads in confusion. And to top it off, they stumbled upon a tiny puddle of tobacco spit, as if Willie had left his ghostly mark. And let's not forget the distinctive smell of carbide lingering in the caverns, a nod to the good old days when people used carbide head lanterns. It's like a blast from the past, reminding us that even ghosts have a sense of the nostalgia. The Polarkeys and their crew decided to bro. You know what? This didn't.
What happened?
It didn't. When I created the notes, I was copying and pasting things over. I forgot to copy and paste. I got ahead of myself. So this is an excerpt from one of the ghost hunters that went on a hunt there. So
Okay.
yeah, it'll make more sense now that I read it. My bad. Anyways, the Plarkeys and the crew decided to take me on a wild ghost chase for Willie, the resident spook of Raccoon Mountain. Armed with their fancy ghost hunting gizmos, they were all geared up for some supernatural action. Now, I'm usually as skeptical as a cat at a dog show when it comes to ghostly gadgets, but hey, I gotta admit they were pretty darn impressive. Hold on to your ghost traps, folks, because things are about to get spooky. Now, I'm not one to attract supernatural shenanigans. Ghosts usually give me a wide berth. But lo and behold, during our underground escapade, I witnessed something straight out of a Scooby-Doo episode. A mysterious blue light decided to play peekaboo with us, shining on me on my unsuspecting companion in the pitch-black cave. At first, I thought it was someone was pulling a flashlight prank, but when no one owned up to it, I knew we were in for a ghostly surprise. And let me tell you, when the light started flashing behind Christian's shoulder, the whole gang went from a skeptic believer to quicker than you can say boo. But the ghostly antics didn't stop there. Christian, bless her brave soul, felt a ghostly poke on her shoulder right where the light was shining. Some skeptics might chalk it up to equipment glitches or floating cave gas, but when you're face to face when the unexplainable, logical explanations start to sound as shaky as scaredy cats in a haunted house. During our tour, we were greeted with a sweet smell in the cave, more perfume than cigar, a ghostly signature scent perhaps. Our guide Kelly spilled the beans on his encounter with Willie, sharing ghostly gossip like a pro. While the guides at the Raccoon Mountain are a treasure trove of cave knowledge, they usually keep the ghostly tales under wraps to avoid spooking the guests. Unless, of course, you're brave enough to ask. It's like a secret menu item at a haunted restaurant. You gotta know what to order. That's it. That's what I brought
I like
to the
that,
table.
man. I like that. You know, what's interesting is you talked about Steven and telling Steven to go check out that cave. I was with Steve and Rob and Corey when we got to get on a Mammoth Cave over in Kentucky, and I'd forgot about a story that I had read about having to do with ghosts and stuff like that. So since we've got a little bit of time, let me spit this one out for you. This is the tragedy at the Sand Cave, a.k.a. the demise of Floyd Collins at Crystal Cave. So a guy named William Floyd Collins, better known as Floyd Collins, was born back on June 20th, 1887 in Logan County, Kentucky, to a Lee Collins and Martha Jane Burnett. Now, Floyd became just completely obsessed with exploring caves at an early age, and he made it into his formal hobby. His pastime led to the discovery of what's known as the Crystal Cave back in 1917 beneath his father's farmland. So Floyd developed the cave into a tourist attraction that boasted unique hellicite and gypsum cave formations. Now, during Floyd's time, cave tourism was a lucrative and very competitive business. Due to the aggressive and highly suspicious practices between rival cave owners, this era, became known as the Cave Wars. So during the early 1920s, most of the caves were privately owned, and more people were flocking to the area for vacation. So many entrances to the cave system had either been discovered or made, and dozens of caves were now competing for tourist dollars. So Floyd developed his crystal cave, but started losing out because, the Kentucky Cave Wars. And his cave was hard to get to, and it lacked formal lodging. So you couldn't drive up there for a family vacation, grab a hotel, and then, just go spelunking on your own accord. No, with him, you had to get an actual room in town and then drive out and pass everybody who's, just walking out of their motel rooms and going down to the caves. He was losing money, so he began excavating an entrance to the Sand Cave, which he hoped would steal visitors from the then privately owned Mammoth Cave. While excavating, an enormous boulder shifted and suddenly pinned him down to the ground on his leg. He was found a day later, and what followed was one of the nation's first and most morbid media frenzies. Radio and newspapers carried regular updates on Collins's predicament, and soon gawkers and well-wishers from all over began flocking to central Kentucky to follow the drama of poor Floyd Collins pinned in the cave by his leg. Hamburger and hot dog stands popped up, souvenirs were sold, and meanwhile, rescuers were at a loss to move the boulder. Eventually, another cave-in occurred, blocking Collins off from help, and now he couldn't even be saved by amputation. After 2 weeks, he died alone due to exposure. But Collins' story doesn't end there. Floyd was eventually removed from the cave after several years and interred in a family cemetery. Floyd's father, Lee, sold the cave and the property to a local dentist named Thomas, who somehow obtained permission to exhume Floyd's body and put it on display in a glass-lid coffin at the entrance to Sand Cave, where then hundreds of tourists could gawk at the decaying corpse inside the coffin with the glass lid. But here's where things get more fun, because eventually Floyd's body ends up getting stolen, presumably by rival cave owners who were angry at the amount of tourists who were flocking just to look at the body. After a few days, his body was discovered in a field, minus one leg, which was never recovered, and he was put back in his coffin in Sand Cave, without a viewing lid. Though people still peeked inside from time to time, which is probably what I would do. The National Park System bought Sand Cave back in 1961 and closed it off to tourists, but surprisingly enough, they too didn't give Floyd a proper burial until 1989, dude. So God knows where they just put his body, probably just off in the corner of some smaller cave.
Oh, he's pissed now.
Oh, it's not surprising. Oh, yeah, dude. And not surprisingly, a plethora of ghost activity is said to occur there. In areas associated with Floyd's grim demise, guests have said they can hear voices calling out for help. Objects have been thrown. Rocks have been thrown. And it should even be noted that in recent decades, Floyd's caves have been found to be connected to Mammoth Cave itself. And throughout other areas of the cave, apparitions can be seen, usually of African Americans. The cave's earliest tour guides and explorers were all male African slaves, and many even held church services inside the chambers. And we actually heard about that when we toured Mammoth Cave. And to seal things off, one more fun fact about Mammoth Cave here. Apparently back in 1839, the cave was witness to good old-fashioned 19th century quackery, kind of similar to the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs. Another medical doctor from Louisville named Frank Gorin apparently established a small village for tuberculosis patients inside the cave. And at this point in history, no one had the slightest clue how to treat the fatal respiratory illness. So Gorin believed the pure air of the cave would help the lungs to battle infections. Probably not the best place to put somebody with a lung disease. Those who couldn't leave the cave after a few weeks in the stale, gloomy darkness of the cave, you guessed it, died. Some of those who did die were discovered by tourists as the tour routes wound right through the TB village. Much of the tuberculosis hospital still stands and can be seen on certain present-day cave tours. So just imagine that, dude. It's one thing to suck to be, pinned down by your leg and die inside of there and haunted, but another whole fucking level of suckery to have tuberculosis and just be basically just, taken down to a cave to die.
That's how you get.
Fuck that noise.
That's how you get Canada golems. Canadian golems. I bet
Right.
in like the 1800s,
I guess that's
all those caves in Canada. You had doctors that were creating little tuberculosis villages, and they just put a bunch of pale people down there and let them die. And the ones that didn't die, they're just like, nope, fuck them, lock them up. And then eventually they turned into little, precious.
Oh no, kind of like the melon heads.
Yeah,
dude, that'd be a pretty rad basis for a horror movie. We should trademark that shit, man.
Yeah.
People go down in the caves, kind of similar to The Descent, and there's reports of like these cave demons. And then, the last act of the film, you find out that they're not really cave demons. They're just like the inbred descendants of like tuberculosis people who died and, or survived in the cave without any light and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Might be our first feature-length film.
Opens up in like the late 1800s, and you got this creepy doctor that's like, come on, come all, get your cure at the tuberculosis village. And then, like, he takes all their money, and he's like, fuck 'em, Jerry, seal it up. And then fast forward to, like, 2023, you got some fucking teenagers.
Hold on.
Like,
where's that guy from? Is he from, like, Ireland?
I don't know. Whatever. We'll figure this out. Anyways, so then, fast forward to, like, 2024, they're like this group of teenagers, and they're like, oh, Brad, do you know what I want to do this summer? I don't know, Sherry. What do you want to do this summer? I want to go to Canada and explore the caves, Brad. Brad, ooh. And then the whole fucking like 4 or 5 teenagers like go up there, and they like, oh, a mysterious entrance. And then that's when, the Canadians have eyes. Ding, 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 ding. And then that's
Canadians have eyes.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh god, I love it. That reminds me, there's actually a softcore parody of Hills Have Eyes called The Hills Have Thighs.
Nice.
Apropos of nothing. Yeah, good stuff. So, what we should do? I know we already talked about how we're going to do a audio presentation of War of the Worlds. We should spend some real time and write like a 30 or 40-minute melodrama about something like this, dude, like going to the Canadians Have Eyes, or something like that. Write an original story and tell people.
All you motherfuckers
just as raunchy
out there in pixelated paranormal land that are listening to this is fucking trademark. If I find anybody who stamps this and turns this into a Hollywood movie and it's not me, I'm fucking suing. Trademark.
I can see it now. They're like after.
Yeah, trademarked. I heard it here first.
Trademark. That's how you do it. That's the official legal way to do it, right? Copyright. I said copyright, so it counts. Yeah, no, I could see this movie playing out. Like, I've watched enough raunchy 80 horror movies to know, like, for no reason at all, halfway through the cave, the girl's topless, and they just go at it for no reason. And then your Canadian, cave golems kind of slither through there and, grab her by the calf and drag her off into the darkness topless. And the guy's like, I don't know what happened. And then he gets pinned for the murder of this chick.
Yeah.
We're on to something, buddy. We're on to something. This whole entire episode is not a waste because now we have a loose plot for possibly a C movie. Not a B movie, a C movie.
And we got to have like really cheesy 1980s synthesizer music. Like,
oh, yeah, dude. Yeah, we'll figure that out. We're on to something, though. All right, well, before we take this thing completely off the fucking rails, we want to thank everyone for joining us. Captain Scott, Fire Pixie, Lazarus. Thanks a lot, guys. We appreciate you guys. If you're on social media, give us a follow. PXL Paranormal over on Instagram. The Pixelated Paranormal Podcast over on Facebook. Check us out on Apple Music, Spotify. I think everything else is dead. I heard Google Podcasts is slowly going to be dying out if it hasn't already. I think Stitcher's already killed off. Podbean might still be a thing. Oh, Amazon Music, we're on there as well. So if you guys are listening to the audio, please rate and review us. Definitely.
We're also on audible.com, so if you listen to audiobooks like me
no shit.
or Sean, You can follow us there. Spotify's
Yeah.
really going out. Like, what happened to Spotify? Like, Joe Rogan just pissed everybody off.
No, Spotify's still there. It's Google and Stitcher. Those are the ones that died off.
Oh, those are fucking like dollar store podcast apps anyway, so that's fine. You know.
Well, right, but I mean, they still they served a purpose, right? Like they still
Yeah.
kind of, got the content out there. But hey,
YouTube
we're
and
a
Rumble,
solid
don't
5
forget.
stars over on. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I let you handle the video shit, buddy. I'm audio.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say we're a solid 5.0 over on Spotify, so we appreciate you guys rating us on there. So
Yeah.
speaking of video, where are we at, buddy, on YouTube?
So 308 subscribers on YouTube, 21 subscribers on
okay.
Rumble. We're still at like 6 subscribers on Kick. We stream to Twitch. I don't know. Nobody follows us on Twitch. Whatever. It's fine.
Sure.
The average, Facebook views is like 40 a show, even though we have like 500 and something follows on Facebook. So most of you Facebook people need to get with it and start watching more. But the ones that do, we appreciate it. We love you. Thank you. Anyways, I'm rambling. So look, if you need a beard, if you want a beard, I don't know, maybe you're sitting at home in your rocking chair and you listen to 2 guys come up with a fucking, Emmy Golden Globe nominated script, and you decide to steal it and write it through Chat GPT because you have nothing better to do, and you're sitting there in your chair and you're thinking, man, my side of my face is itchy. Tell you what, your problem is you didn't go over to BigDobsBeardBomb.com and you didn't use promo code PXLPARA to get 20% off your order, because that's where the creativity, that's where the magic, that's where the sexiness happens, is when you got a little bit of Babe Rum, fresh citrus, mint, classic, sweet tobacco. Get it all. Get it at Dobbs.
Well, holy shit. Nice work, buddy.
Yeah.
If you're in the Wichita area, stop by, see Leslie and the rest of the gang over at CD Trade Post, Pawnee and Seneca, and then check out our friends over at the Paranormal.Cafe and the Paranormal Egg Experience food truck. All right, buddy. Well, somehow I came to the table saying we should be out of here in less than half an hour, and here we are just shy of an hour. So hopefully there's a piece of real quality content in there. So
Yeah. I like it. I dig it.
awesome. With that, I raise this mug and say cheers to the weird shit in the world and those of us who love to talk about it.
And stay spooky and stay on the paranormal highway. And if you live in Lexington, Kentucky, get out of there.
The cast at
good
Pixelated
shit.
Paranormal
Good
would
shit.
like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. Email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.